Cool, Anirudh. So you are in Jaipur. I'm in San Francisco. I was just telling you, it's so hot in San Francisco. I'm lucky because I have a AC in my condo, but there are a lot of people in San Francisco. They just do not have AC. So I wonder how they are dealing with this heat. I think we have few more days. But so how's everything in Jaipur?
So Jaipur has been traditionally a very extreme weather place. It's like 45 degrees Celsius, like 115 to 118 degree Fahrenheit is very common.
Yeah,
ACs are a must. I mean, of course, you can't survive without them. So
yeah.
I get surprised when I hear someone saying, hey, we don't have an AC when I meet them in Europe or somewhere in the East Coast in the US. But for us, it's part of the year weather, right? So, for example, from May to June or to July, I think it's that hot. Then it's humid afterwards, and now it's kind of a bit pleasant by the evening. So it's okay. It's not that bad now.
Yeah. For me, it was also shocking when I found out that in a country like US, and especially in a city like San Francisco or Bay Area, Silicon Valley, there are people who are without AC. That was like a huge surprise for me. I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason behind it. Anyway, so I don't know. Look, I know you from my Databricks. Like, I did not work for Databricks, but I worked for multiple startups who were focused heavily on Databricks. And suddenly, like few years ago, I found out a name called Celebal Technologies from Databricks because Databricks folks invested in you in your company. And when I looked up the founder of Celebal Technology, and for a second I was like, "Wow!" So this individual, you Anirudh, started this company sitting in Jaipur, India, and now you guys have a footprint literally in all over the world. I know you guys just launched the office in Germany, and so I'm actually very curious to know, how did you start your tech journey, and then how did you end up launching an amazing brand called Sellable Technologies?
So Neeraj, we started this company in the year 2016, October. So basically, in 12 days from now, we'll celebrate our eighth birthday.
Nice.
And yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride. And to be honest, if I can tell you, there are these three good things I did, and because of which maybe we became whatever we are today, it won't be correct because they've been multiple series of things, events, being on time at the right place or the right time, as we call it, right? That happened, and I think it's a collection of multiple people coming together, multiple events, taking place, multiple, I would say, serendipitous set of actions or items or events that got together, which kind of led us to where we are today. I very strongly believe that it's very stereotypical to say a tier two or tier three city in India, and becoming kind of creating a company like Celebal. To be honest, there are far better examples within India, not in Databricks ecosystem or let's say any ecosystem, but in the other ecosystems like security or in AppDev, and they've done amazingly well. So I think our inspiration comes from those guys, specifically given that they were able to create that ecosystem like Zoho. I think I get really inspired by those guys when I hear that they started in a very small town, rather than not in a small town, in a village in Kerala. So the underlying idea and the fundamental of such organization is simple: the talent, right? And I can assure you, there is no dearth of talent in India. Every city, every town, every small village, it has loads and loads of talents. The only challenge is rather to really kind of give them those kind of trainings and that kind of education and that kind of learnings that they could become professionals, and they could contribute to a large organization. I think that's very focused. So we actually hired a lot of people from the nearby city, cities of Jaipur, in and around Jaipur, from Jaipur, Delhi, some parts, and then that kind of gave us access to the right quality of talent, which we trained for 6 months or so, 6 months or so, to get a first batch of professionals who could really go and deliver things for our customers. Now, with all of this, the biggest challenge was to get customers, right? How do we
Yeah.
get to a larger brand, let's say in the US or in Europe, while sitting from let's say a city like Jaipur? In that case, specifically, our channels really helped us. Channels like Databricks and channels like Microsoft. So we started off with Microsoft, and we started using their solutions, their services in our solution, and they took us to their customers, and we were able to deliver. some of their most, I would say, coveted challenges. Coveted in the sense they had those challenges in the past that they couldn't solve. So I would say we were given that task of solving it, and the challenge was that if we could solve it, then we are in for a larger game. And we luckily we could solve it also, right? So that worked out. So our first customer was Tata Communications, and that's how we started the journey with Microsoft. And then eventually from India, we expanded to Singapore, to US, to Australia today, Japan, Dubai, Canada, London, and Munich. We just started our Hanover office like last week, right? So I think, as I said, it's been a series of events that took place one after the other. We got some good mentorship, some good guidance. We also have a fantastic partner investor, which is Norwest, which has been a big support for us, not just financially, but also in terms of guiding us through our tough times. Uh, so in the last almost 8 years of our existence, we've partnered with three major OEMs and specifically on the data side, and we believe that we are still scratching the surface. As we speak, we are closing customers at a pace faster than ever, and we believe that I think in the next 3 to 4 years, the growth is for a company like ours, specifically focused on domain and the data and AI as a technology focused area. So very excited, very optimistic, and
Yeah.
waiting for things to happen.
Yeah. What I want to talk about in this episode, besides, of course, this is an amazing journey, and you just talked about data AI. The way I want to have this conversation in three different segments. First, the grit that you have. How did you start this? And the second, the whole data AI landscape. Why did you guys bet 100% on data breaks? Where do you see the data AI space going? And third, well, what's next for Salable? Are you guys looking to expand the footprint from the workforce point of view, or are you guys looking to build some new accelerators, new solutions to help enterprises on their Gen AI stories? So going back to the segment number one, the grit. I saw that you worked for IBM, you worked for many other companies. The journey from working for somebody else to launching the sellable technology as a company, what is the story behind it?
Well, I would say it was not very different because when I worked for someone, I worked for IBM, I worked for ZS Associates, and I literally always thought that it's my problem to solve. I think the difference between an employee and entrepreneur could be that an entrepreneur would always think of every problem as their problem, whereas an employee would think of only their problem as their problem, not anything else. I think I got that mentorship from my manager, the first manager I worked under whom I worked. He would always go out and do things beyond his area of concern, right? So I learned it from him that let's go and solve problem for others, and that's where I realized that as an entrepreneur, because when I started the journey, I started to file taxes of my own. I also started doing a bit of an HR. I also started doing a bit of counseling sessions, mentoring sessions, training, doing technical discussion with my customers, and then of course being a consultant in the organization, finally becoming a leader. Right. So you had to do everything. Even as a entrepreneur, you might not be required to do everything, but I think as a challenge that I took during my as an employee, where I would always go out and work with other people, uh, I think really helped. But most importantly, I think when I was working for IBM and when I started working for ZS, I found that there was an absolute gap in the industry when it comes to using domain knowledge with respect to data and AI. So ZS Associates, I think they are amazing in healthcare. But then I realized that the other industries like oil and gas, power utility, or renewables, or manufacturing, they have an absolute void. And the void was with respect to data and AI. They've got the best of the ERPs that are supporting them in their day-to-day processes. However, data and AI, specifically amalgamating this data from their ERPs, from their MESs, from their OT, and bringing them together and running analytics of the most advanced nature was an absolute gap because they're not realizing the ROI, right? So the first thing we did was we created a domain-based organization. We would focus on not everything, but let's say three or four specific domains. And when we would go to a customer in that domain, we would always we would always figure out, okay, it's not about a tech solving a problem, it's always a solution for a problem. What is a tech comes way later on, right? And that's where this Databricks things came in, when we realized what is that one universal iPhone synonymous kind of a solution in the data and AI industry, that could be used as that could be used as a combination of things, right from your ingestion, to your transformation, to your AI, to consumption, to serving to third party applications, and running governance on top of it, managing the entire ecosystem through one click. The answer was actually Databricks, right? And that's where we started this journey. So again, as I said, because of the series of events that happened in my life, we realized that, both me and my partner Anupam, we both realized that there are gaps in the industry with respect to data and AI. There are potential solution that we could offer to our customers, and then our overall pedigree of really going and helping people around us, or doing things beyond a technical guy should be doing, right? That actually helped us, in kind of laying the foundations of Celebal Tech and us as an entrepreneur. And I think I really rejoice, whatever I'm doing today, because I'm still solving the same problem, still trying to fill the gaps. Not that those gaps have been filled, but we really believe that if we really help our customers in those industries, we're not just adding to their top line or the bottom line, but we're adding to their value chain, because these organizations are also looking at their 10 years plan of how do they, let's say, quadruple their production, or how do they, let's say, minimize their operational inefficiencies, or how do they operationalize their sales and distributions. These are very, very profound questions, and yes, the answers to all these questions is a mixed bag of things. And that's where I think Databricks comes in and kind of offers that end-to-end ecosystem with respect to their data and AI requirements for a domain-focused organization like ours. I mean, through a domain-focused organization like ours, and specifically for these three, four industries that I talked about.
Very nice. Just like any other relationship, first 3 years, 5 years, they're always very difficult.
Right.
So you launched the company in 2016. How was it for first 3 years, and especially pandemic hit? How did you get out of the pandemic?
Yeah, so we were in our fourth year by the time we all got into the pandemic. Uh, when I started in 2016, we of course had a tough time. So we started with partnerships. We had a good partner in the US. Uh, but having said that, the challenges of managing the finances, managing the cash flow was a big, big problem, right? And for us, for someone like us, without, those who, both me and Pam, we don't come from background where we could invest, let's say, $1 million from our own pocket and get started, right? So we actually had very little investments which we kind of put in the company. But then, luckily for us, right, we got some good customers at the right time. So as I said, we started with one particular customer, and then it became a process where we actually would go to a new set of customers and hire more people, new set of customers, hire more people. So there's always like a well thought through value chain that we would kind of extend with, which was basically finding customer and finding new people, right? Customers preceding the number of folks. And of course, all this happened because we kind of built those solutions from our early days. As I said, we started with energy and with manufacturing. Let's say even the pharma manufacturing. So we started with solutions for pharma manufacturing, where we could go to a customer and say, "Hey, this is a pre-built solution for your production plan." So that would not require that many people, and hence our initial investment wasn't that big, because those solutions were built by me, right? And thus we kind of built on top of it, right? So we kept building. The challenges, of course, for anyone of our size, is a combination of things. First, how to get the best of these guys, because then you're competing with the other big names, where someone would, of course, even if I were to start my career today, I would want to start with a big brand, right? But then, and if you say you're a data scientist, right, why would you want to continue with a company like Celebal Tech, which is, let's say, not known, it's very new. In 6 months, you would know whatever is required to be known for solving a problem. So you could actually go to a bigger brand. How to make them stay? That was my biggest challenge, right? How to convince them this is a lifetime opportunity for all of us, not just for me, but also for them. I won't say we were successful enough to stop everyone or even 80%. I think Still 40% of the folks who joined me in my very early days are still with me, right? 60% left. The good thing is in the last couple of years, about 20% of them came back. So yeah, so they could see the value. But that was the biggest challenge because when you go to a customer, give a solution. The solution, of course, works, but then you have to integrate it with their economy, which is not straightforward. You got to have those engineers on the ground to make it possible.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest challenge. The second challenge was going and convincing the customers to not give a purchase order to a larger organization again, but to someone like us. You're never, as a CIO, you're never fired if a project fails, if the project actually was given to a big brand. But if the project fails because of Celebal Tech, then that CIO's job also is under threat because kind of they played a punt on us and it didn't work. So that was also a big challenge. So we had to show that we've done it in the past. And that's where, again, the solutions approach worked well because they could see that we know what we're talking about. It was not just a headcount game that we were playing. So eventually, you see, it actually, uh, you know, we just kept building upon things, right? We got first customer, we took that as a reference, we took to the next customer, and that's how we kept building on things. Luckily for us, as I said, we were able to find some gaps immediately, and we went to these customers and said, "Hey, you are not solving this problem." Like for example, for this particular large media house, it's one of the largest media houses in in the country, not just in the country, in fact, globally. And they had this big problem of finding the a unique set of visitors in a particular series of time. For example, on uh, on a BI screen, they would just, let's say, scroll, or let's say just shuffle around the dates. Let's say any window of 90 days, and they would want to find out my unique visitors in those 90 days. The problem was each day data was about 5 terabytes. So because I don't know what I'm going to scroll through, I mean I'm going to slide through in my ruler for my date range, I don't know what is the overall set of data that I need to go and find the unique distant visitors for. So and the idea was to solve that in 5 seconds. We actually solved it in 1 seconds. They were doing it in not seconds, not minute, not even hours. It would take half a day for them to run that kind of a report. From half a day, we brought it to 1 second. 1 second. It was engineering to its core.
Wow.
And that was our aha moment when we went to the customer. The customer didn't believe it, right? They had to get the data checked like 10 times to believe that was that the real case or not. And that gave us that understanding that we can actually go and solve problems probably others not thinking of, or maybe we've done some kind of innovation that's why it's helping us. So that worked, and they gave us references to five more customers. They came on reference calls and they really said good things about us. So as I said, again, series of people, series of events that really helped us get through this journey. And as I said, I'm really thankful to all of them because they've been, without them, I think we wouldn't have reached where we are today. Specifically, given that again we come from a small town, not known to anyone, but then it's the word of mouth publicity, or I would say the reference that our customer would give about us to other set of potential customers that really worked.
That's brilliant. Wow. Actually, that brings to the second segment, the innovation piece, right? As you shared the story, without this problem that you solved and word to mouth marketing, that helped a lot to grow the brand. So, Anirudh, I think the question which is coming up, especially in the industry itself, that generative AI is there, co-pilot, AI agents, so much noise. I think we are still filtering out what should we call it, this new innovation. I know Salesforce started calling Agent Force, and literally every other company have moved away from or trying to move away from Copilot now to AI agents. So there are two aspects to my question because as I am also witnessing the trend, productivity, efficiency, that AI is there. I don't need to write 100% of the code. I can generate some code. I can do some work with the AI agents, and then I can do some better testing on top of whatever the deliverable or whatever the outcome or output from the AI agents, and I can work on top of it. So
Yeah.
now, as sellable technologies, where are you guys heading in the AI world, and overall your generative AI initiatives as part of helping the customers?
Yeah, so see, last year we did around 150 plus MVPs of OpenAI, right, for our customers with Microsoft. And we're also the Global AI Partner of the Year for Microsoft in the year 2023. which was a big deal because I think everyone
Yeah.
wanted that, given that it was the year of GPT. So it was the most coveted recognition that you could get, right, with Microsoft. Um, in those MVPs, we realized that we all are trying to solve a problem that is not that tough. Maybe we had a potential solution even in the past, not of that quality for sure. But I think in the last 6 months specifically, I would say ever since the advent of GPT-4o or Mosaic AI, we've seen giant strides in terms of the outcomes that we could deliver for our customers. Now we've actually just deployed, as you speak, edge device running a small language model, taking actions on the fly without a connection to the internet. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? I mean, on the shop floor.
Yeah.
I mean, to for me to realize this kind of thing, let's say 6 months back, 9 months back, was not possible. And out of those 150 MVPs, I think we've gone into production in around 80 or 85 of them, which I can assure you is a very good percentage, right? Given
Yeah.
that not more than, as an industry standard, not more than 15 to 20% has gone into production. Uh, However, I believe this agentic architecture that has evolved in the last few weeks, rather if not few
Mm.
months, or the graph rag that which Microsoft has open source, is a game changer. Is certainly a game changer because it now offers me a set of, not just set of analysis, but a set of actions, right? From, and as we say, this research paper from Microsoft says, move from a set of analysis to a set of actions, basically depicts that actually it's our first step towards AGI, right? Now, yes, AGI is still, I would say, far off. It's not there in the new, in let's say in the near future, but it's the first step towards AGI. We have started seeing loads of these MVPs now converting into production. Specifically, I think the contact center use cases are the most powerful ones, and we've deployed at least 10 to 12 of them. And as we speak, they're doing at least 15 to 20 of them in the next 3 months. So there's a huge uptick in the market, specifically for contact centers. Um, but with the agentic RAG, now I think the manufacturing, the energy, the CPG industries, even FSI, have a real potential in terms of, really manifesting these AI use cases or solutions specifically for their purposes without just, hitting the productivity thing. So what happens today in AI is that everything in AI kind of says, I mean, kind of boils down to your productivity, optimization, which is good, but
Yeah.
that's not super exciting for a CIO anymore, right? Tell me, how does it add to my bottom line without saying that it improves your productivity, hence improves your bottom line? No, I want a conspicuous addition to my bottom line, not just a more, let's say, inconspicuous one. And that's where these use cases like asset, failure analytics, or let's say forecasting, time series forecasting using Gen AI now seems absolutely bizarre, but today it's possible, right? Because the kind of synthetic data you could generate for a time series, for a stationary time series or a non-stationary time series, that's in my opinion a game changer, because now I could really go and simulate much better time series models because I've got a potential, a range of data that I could generate. Of course, simulating the current weather, let's say current models of the time series that I'm trying to predict. For example, for weather, right? Let's say if I'm predicting, weather at a, we call it the, basically a whether at a particular latitude or longitude, like for example, for generation of renewable energy, right? That's a very, very specific use case. Now, the generation forecast for renewable energy was always a challenge because it was not just dependent on the assets there, but majorly on the weather, the cloud cover, so the irradiance, right? The azimuthal irradiance. There's so many parameters that we could never use in our models. We are using them today, and our accuracy has gone up by at least 1,000 basis points. That means a 10% addition to the accuracy. That means a potential 10% cut in their penalties to their suppliers when they sign their PPAs. Absolute addition to the bottom line, right? So,
I think, yeah, it's mind blowing what you just said, the time series based use cases, time series based data use cases, because all of my work, which I have seen so far, is in either retail or some manufacturing, or most of the use cases are more like the contact center you mentioned, right? Hey, I have this audio files, audio to
Yeah.
text, and then do some work on it, build the AI agent slash prompt, and then you start asking questions. In the fintech, financial services use cases, hey, give me more proactive investment ideas by just
Yeah.
asking questions to prompt. But I love what you just said about the time series piece, because I have not seen anything in that space. I think is it so? I don't know, all the use cases that you just mentioned. Is it possible to find these use cases on your website?
Some of them, yes, of course. Some of them uh, we've not published because they're IPs of a customer,
Okay, yeah,
right?
that makes
Because
sense.
we kind of build it for customers. But then, of course, I can still talk about the fundamentals of that use case. But most of them would still be there. You could
Yeah,
find them on our websites. You can find how we've helped one of the process manufacturing organization to optimize their production plans using Gen AI, of course, and classical machine learning, and of course, genetic algorithm for optimization.
yeah. So I know in your business approach, are you guys providing just the services based on the workforce, or do you also have some solutions slash accelerators that customers can deploy?
So we've got more than 30 plus solutions that we actually use. Those are my building blocks of what we offer as services to our customers. Workforce on top of it is needed to really deploy it, customize it, integrate it with their economy. And the fact remains, no customer can just take our use case because every customer, even if, let's say if I go to a bank A and deploy a solution for, let's say, trade finance, then I go to bank B, the same solution won't work as is. Even if they both are banks, even if
Mm,
they are doing something very fundamental, which is trade finance, right?
yeah,
Because the way they run the organizations are different. They don't really have they don't really have exact similar copybook way of working, and hence those customizations, hence those model tweaking will happen. So the workforce that we have specifically is working on, deploying these use cases, customizing it, fine tuning it for those customers, for those domains, or deeper fine tuning for those use cases, and then bringing it to production. And then there's a bigger workforce that's kind of creating those solutions, as we call them as products or solutions, accelerators, whatever, right? And few of them we have productized to an extent that we could just go and deploy, no customizations needed. So those are pure products, right? So I would say we are a combination of all three. Saying that we are a pure product would be a blatant lie. Saying that we are absolute only solutions will again be a lie. And saying that we are just services would also be wrong because we're not. We're a combination of all three. You could say we are somewhere between ISP and SI there.
ah, nice.
Yeah.
That's so. That's actually very interesting. The hybrid approach that you guys are taking, and literally, and I have seen this, and I'm not going to name any big companies, but the model for last 20, 30 years is, hey, here's my talent, go take it, do the work. And
Yeah.
then I noticed that most of the innovative companies like your size, uh, or your company, they have a hybrid approach, that we have a solution accelerator, we're going to help you to deploy it in production too, and use our brain power in addition to our workforce. So I have
Right.
noticed that innovative companies, they are using that approach, which is amazing. um, okay, let me ask you this, that's crazy question then. How hard is to find a good talent?
Very hard. Period.
Do you throw more money? Do you throw more equity? What do you do?
No, so it's not about money or equity. I think first is you have to ensure that you are actually uh, you know offering these guys in terms of what would quench their thirst for solution, right? uh, and most importantly, uh, of course money is one part of it. Most importantly, could they feel that in the next 2 years or 3 years they would be given that opportunity to really go out and find solutions to the problems that they've never solved. Not just from a productionization of an enterprise solution, that's of course they might have not done. But let's say, okay, here's an oil rig, and I got to visualize, let's say, a methane gas pocket in augmented reality. Now that's the problem because they drill, and let's say they keep drilling it, let's say, in a circular fashion throughout the well periphery, even at the inner core, and using the viscosity of the of the material that comes out, you figure out what's a potential depth through, let's say, a methane gas in that well, and then in a 3D geometry, visualize it, and then kind of put it to augmented reality. That's the kind of problem they want to solve, right? Or I mean, we've got about three patents. One is specifically on the on the genomic side of things, where which is not, of course, our the area of our expertise, but some of our guys really wanted to go and do some research there. So we created a research lab. This lab is about 10 to 12 folks today, where we've actually built about 8 or 9 products. We might not sell them to our customers. It's just for the sheer love and joy of finding new things or creating new solutions. And maybe as an outcome, we could probably use them. We actually have used a couple of them, but not all of them, right? And we don't expect, there's no expectation of really selling it to a customer. The expectation is to just go and enjoy researching about something. So if you can give that kind of an ecosystem to someone who's really thirsty for, these innovative solutions that he or she wants to build, I think that's what really excites them. Besides, of course, I think I would say that we are a decent paymaster, as well as we share equities and ESOPs with our employees. We've given it to almost 300 people this year, and again next year we're planning to give it to another 300. And we're learning. See, I won't say we have the best of the best cultures. No, we don't. Right? We've got a very aggressive culture, which we have changed a lot in the last 1 year because we've grown organically. You see, if I were to compare ourselves, with, let's say, like of an Infosys or a TCS, I admire those companies also, because I think the way they have handled this large ecosystem and yet manage the cash flows is secondary to none. It's really amazing. But then the way they've fostered that culture, right? Do we want everything out of it? No. Do we want some processes and the value chain that they've created? Yes, we certainly want that. So for us, it's a mixed bag of things that we would want, let's say, from a TCS or an Infosys, or let's say from a Palantir, or let's say from another niche player in the segment. And then see, can we really build a culture that kind of has everything from all these three different kind of economies, and can we give a better work environment? I don't think we are there yet, and I know some people are not happy about the aggressive nature that we have in terms of our work culture. But having said that, we've made really I would say really strong. We've started with long and strong initiatives specifically on improving the work culture, the work life balance of our of the employees in the company, and most importantly, we give larger preference to working mothers, right? Much, and I said larger, I would say more, a larger preference. The reason being, if I can't if I can't give, let's say, a preference to a working mother, then that means I would never understand how would I go and solve a problem for my customer. I'll tell you the relationship. Working mothers, of course, cannot work like, let's say, a fresh graduate, because they've got responsibility at the home. But then, yet they optimize and yet they're able to deliver. Similarly, our customers expect that from us, that we work like 24/7 for them, but that's not possible. But yet we have to deliver the same quality of outcome that they expect within the time frame we've got. So we actually learn from them, and that's why I want more and more of working mothers in our organization, so that we could really learn from them and deliver the same kind of an outcome for our customers. Um, so I think it's a combination of things: quality of work, quality of work life, and of course, remuneration. All three as a package. We are trying to optimize it. We are trying to be as qualitative in all three parameters as possible. I won't say we are there yet completely, but we are trying our best.
Very impressive. And I love what you just said about the working mothers. Um, that brings back to what I was going to ask you about the culture. When you, so two questions I have for you on this topic. I'm now going to disclose your age. I know we talked about it before we started this episode. You are a very young guy, and let's say you minus 10 out of your age. If you have to give advice to someone who's 10 years younger than you, what will be that advice? And also, what is your motivation behind? How did you learn all this wisdom which you just mentioned in last 30 seconds? I am very curious to learn about, like, what's the origination of that wisdom.
First part of the question. If I were to go back to my age, let's say, which is minus 10, which is 28, not my current age, but minus 10, of course. uh, oh, that'll be sometime, right? I think I envy the generation, the generation, the generation that's currently out of college right now, because I think the potential to learn today is 100x more than what it used to be for us. Then I envy it because I believe when I learned data science, I learned it from a course called Introduction to Statistical Learning from Rob Tisharani and Trevor Hestey, the gods of statistics, right? These are the two professors from Stanford, and I think legends. But then it was very statistical in nature. It was very standard, and it had its boundaries, right? It was not, let's say, a full blown course for deep learning and AI and whatnot, but that it gave me the fundamentals. Today, if you go out in the market and look for the right AI course, there's so many of them. Andrew Ang has been doing that stuff for ages now, right? Jeffrey Hinton's amazing courses on neural networks and then deep learning and then transformers and now these generative transformers and so on and so forth. Uh, my advice would be to go and capitalize. Just capitalize on the wealth of information you're sitting on, the wealth of knowledge you're sitting on, and acquire as much. Because what will happen, in my opinion, in the next 10 years is that AI is going to create way more number of jobs than we would have created in the past. But you will be replaced by someone using AI. If you're not using AI, even if you are, let's say, if you are, let's say, just a shopkeeper, or you are a owner of a factory, or you're a ice cream shop owner, or whatever, I don't know, right? You got to use AI in some form or the other. If you're not, then someone using AI will replace you, right? So my guidance would be to really, just go and just acquire this amazing, ecosystem of courses, the knowledge that they give, and just uh, optimize your productivity, of course. And secondly is use AI in your daily life, because it will help you, not just, as I said, productivity is one part, but help you learn more and more and more. So that would be the advice to the young generation today, the generation that's out of the college. Second is on the learnings. How did I learn? I think it's all as part of the entrepreneurship journey. I never had any respect for the HR. I'll be honest. When I started my career, I thought, "What are these guys doing? They're creating, they're organizing campaigns, parties, trips. But when do they work, right?" The fact remains, today I have my biggest regards and deepest of the respects to HR, because what they deal with is human quotient, which is far more tough, and far more tough in terms of what it could what it could manifest, what supplementary thoughts it can generate, and how is every human different. So to handle that human quotient and to ensure that everyone in the organization works in the way the organization wants it to, they all are motivated to work for the organization, and they believe that this organization gives them the career path that they're looking for. I think HR plays a very pivotal role. So, all these learnings, would come to you only when you try things firsthand. And that's what entrepreneurship offers you, right? You got to do things firsthand. As I said,
I
I
love it.
filed for GST, right? I filed GST. I've been, not anymore. Of course, I have a big finance team now, but I used to file GST, used to file income tax myself for the company. I've not signed an auditor report because I can't, because a CA is supposed to sign. But in a way, I could have created that entire auditor report because I was part of it very intrinsically. Similarly, that's where the initial days, I would say, when we were not even a private limited company, we were a LLP before that. So, but then it taught me what it takes to, maintain cash flows, what it takes to, hire people. Hiring, I thought, why are we hiring recruiters? We can just go and hire on LinkedIn. No, you got to hire loads of recruiters, because the way, the day when you give an offer to someone, you got to engage them from that day to the day they join you. So that engagement cycle is so important. You realize it only when you see people dropping out on the last day, right? So you
Yeah,
so so you fail and you learn, right? So
smart.
that's a beauty of entrepreneurship, right? So you learn because you have to. There is no other option. If you don't, then you'll perish. So all of these, set of, again, I would say, set of events that you go through is an opportunity for learning and is an opportunity for growth. So I think I would say this learning, I would say uh, I would give this entire learning, whatever you get, not AGI, but generalized intelligence that you kind of generate or fathom, uh, is because of entrepreneurship.
In one of our next episode, I definitely want to go deeper into AGI whenever it's ready to have that conversation.
Sure. Sure.
One personal question I'm going to ask you, you can choose not to answer it. I'm very excited what you're doing. Would you ever move out of Jaipur and move to US? And I think when I met you in person, I asked you the same question because I am so impressed that you are sitting in India and you created this amazing brand.
So I'm a born, brought up, and going to die in Jaipur. Simple, right? That clarity is there, and the reason why I say that is because I've got my my not my, not just my family but my extended family. So I think we all think of our family as your mom and your dad and your spouse, your siblings, your kids. But I have got my very dear and affectionate extended family, my grandfather, my grandparents, my father's brothers, my mother's brothers and sisters. I'm so connected to them that for me, this entire ecosystem of, of social economy that I have here in Jaipur, right? Meeting them on a weekend or even on the weekdays. If I have trouble, if I call up my uncle, consider that done, right? That's the kind of setup we have in Jaipur. So that was the first reason. Second is, why not Jaipur? If I could answer that, then I think I would start thinking of Jaipur. Yes, India has its own challenges. People are not very happy with the, let's say, the pollution here and whatnot, right? But having said that, there are so many, upsides to it. Family is, of course, one. Secondary is access to talent. I sit with the talent. If I go out of Jaipur and let's say from a distance, or let's say I sit remotely and I sit from a distance to my team, I don't think I could ever work or kind of motivate them enough to do what they're doing today, I would say, right? So one of either me or Anupam, we always are in Jaipur. We of course travel a lot. We travel a hell lot, but I think our connection with the team, right, the team that really matters, the team that delivers on the ground, has to be there. And for that, I think I got to be sitting with them all the time. And the feeling that I've always tried to generate is that my employees need to feel that if they are not, let's say, able to deliver something because of whatever reason, they always know there's someone sitting who would always come and help us, right? Even though I don't know if I could or not, but I want to ensure that that remains, because
You
that
know,
keeps me on my toes and that keeps me closer to my family.
Yeah. I don't think I have ever used this line, which I'm about to use, and I can promise you that I will never use this line in future. I am so jealous of you because you are running this amazing brand sitting in India. I wish I could do this sitting in India. Don't leave my extended family, don't leave my family, and run a global company sitting in India. That's just brilliant. Um, Anirudh, whenever you're in San Francisco, do ping me. We should hang out and
Sounds
talk
good.
about AGI in person. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for making time for this show.
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
See you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.